Hi, Davi here, and today we have a new episode in the Art Review series. And today we'll be checking out the work of choijihyeon or Haeon. Now, I actually found this artist first, or by accident, from a post from Kwang Kim, which I did an art review of like way back. I may revisit their work eventually, but I actually found like choijihyeon's work via this post. I saw this on my Instagram feed, and not fan art, but it's uh it's a bunch of illustrations, character like concepts from the Devil May Cry anime, which I did see recently. I think it's on Netflix, and I think Kwang Kim, I'm assuming, is part of the project. I'm not sure, but I did see like in this character design section over here, like Choi. So I did click over. I mean, first of all, these drawings are so cool, right? I'm not sure who actually made them. Maybe it's because because sometimes when you work for a studio, like you don't necessarily have to like name the artist, right? It's like from the studio. But in this case, so it's hard to say for these drawings who actually drew them, but uh, based on like just this description, I'm guessing like the main artist who did the character design for this guy. I'm guessing. I forgot his name. Shit. I just watched the anime like a few days ago, but oh my god, what's his name again? Oh, Dante. Oh, geez, Dante. Dante. So yeah, over here on Choi Ji-hyun's page, they actually don't have a bunch of. It's very low. It's a very low following count. So hopefully we um see that number go up, because I do know we have a decent amount of subs here on the YouTube. So if you're interested, just by looking at their feed, they have a bunch of artwork already sort of in their Instagram page, and it's pretty cool. It's pretty high quality in terms of, I mean, they're not full concept, like fully rendered. Some of it is more like sketchy, but it's like a character concept level, right? It's not meant to be like a full illustration, but it's so captivating to me. Um, like they have a way also of doing the, like if you average out like the body types, the shape design, they tend to have like elongated features. Like the limbs tend to be a lot longer, lots of like pointy like chins. Basically pointed angled um points or sharp like for example for the tips of these fingers, right? It's very sort of lizard like, but in a good way, you know? Reminds me of other artists like Yoneyama Mai, and plenty more. But just looking at the brushwork, I think they're using just simple brushes, a round brush, maybe a soft brush here and there, but that's pretty much it. It's basically like a dichotomy, a duality between like hard shapes or hard edges and soft edges. But that's it. I don't see a lot of like weird, well, sorry, not weird, but extravagant kind of effects. It's fairly simple, right? But I think the content is like, take away the rendering, the drawing itself is pretty like solid. I would say the proportions are somewhat fashionista or fashion esque. Just think of like fashion models. They tend to be kind of tall, slim. Uh, Although I do see a lot more curves, even though they're kind of tall and slim, they're a little more curvy, I would say. Because I think in the fashion world, the women anyway, they tend to be a little more sharp. I mean, yeah, they're slim, but they're kind of sharp and like broad in a way. Um, this one's kind of a different style, you know, based on the eyes alone. It's kind of simplified, but yeah, they do emphasize ink work as well. Again, take away the rendering, the inks or the drawing itself is solid. But even when they do paint, they don't hide the black ink. And if you look at the way they paint, it's a decent amount of paint. It's not like just a flat with like a shadow part, there is a bit of blending going on here. Because usually in this kind of approach, you would eventually want to remove the ink lines, but I think they're trying to mix a bit of both. Where for this piece anyway, where there is some painting, right? So it feels a lot more like it feels more 3D, I guess, when you have more values. But at the same time, they're not necessarily removing the ink work. There is no hatching though. I don't see a lot of hatching in their work. Wait, maybe for this one there is a little bit. Oh yeah, for the bottom of the shoes maybe, but uh yeah, you don't really see much. Most of the line work is in the contours. Um Although I do see quite a bit of black spots here for like the shadows. So this one seems a little more like comic like to me. Right? But again, look at the way they paint. It's a bunch of like hard brushes or basic brushes. A basic round brush, right? With some gradients or soft brushes being used. Um and yeah, just the features. I do, they're very pretty and very like aesthetically pleasing. It's not just like the actual like figure itself. Um and even like the fashion part. I do notice a bit of an inclination towards tomboys, like boyish types of or rough looking women, kind of like mechanics or whatever this is, like rebellious type of attitude. Having females, females. I'm sorry, pretty cool. Oh, I like how the underside of the shoe is painted as well. You can tell they're boots, right? So she's not very like she's on the ground basically, and she can handle like the rougher side, I guess, of society. So ripped kind of shorts here. I'm very interested with how people render like for example skin for like the belly, because you can't use, I mean you can use like hard edges, but it's gonna look super sculpted like they have abs. So for something that has some fat, like how do you properly like space out the soft edges, and not make it too clunky, right? Pretty cool. And each kind of illustration is or art piece, they often have some kind of background, right? And they leave kind of like a white space. Let me just open this in the new tab. Like on the edge, like a white border to sort of frame the whole thing. There's also another guy. I think it's Marui. You know what? Let me just type these people's names down. But I did mention Yoneyama Mai. Yoneyama Mai. I think another guy would be or artist would be Marui. 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 Like they have the same vibe as well, and they do emphasize the inks. Even if they render the work, they like showing their like the ink work is part of their final illustration, which I do like. Super cool. And again, the brushwork is simple. Well, simple in that there's no brush variety. It's just like basic brushes. Um, Pretty cool. And it's sad, only like 200 something followers for this kind of work. Wait, what's this? Okay. I thought I saw something different, but yeah, maybe they have like a Twitter somewhere or something like that where they have a bunch more followers. But even on Instagram, I would expect like they already have a decent amount of work already, like enough of a feed to at least have like 1,000 plus or 10,000 plus subs. So here we have a close up of a face. Let me just zoom in here because I think we have a bunch of other images. So we have one more. Oh, yeah, they still like including the ink line in the end. Now this one, they are employing some blur effects to sort of set the background further back. I also see like a noise texture, which is very common, especially if you're trying to render stuff in a basic kind of way where you're not using textured brushes. I think adding some noise texture just adds a bit of grit or teeth to your base. You know, whenever I see paintings that only involve like the hard brown brush or a soft brush, I think I would rather use the word rendering maybe, just because it's usually harder to see the paint strokes, right? But when I see illustrations or paintings or just artwork that they have a bunch more brushes being used, where it's not just the basic brushes, I usually tend to call it a painting, just because it feels like a painting, right? But this one does have quite a bit of texture in terms of like the fabrics. You have like a fur sort of texture here for the lower part of the leg, and even like this hat thing here. Uh, they could have used like a special brush for that, but they decided to just suggest it with some basic brushes. Like you can tell this pants or these pants are kind of like cotton esque, right? They're like joggers. Think of an average Adidas sort of jogging pants. And then you have this sort of skirt over here with some kind of pattern. It reminds me of one of those Irish or maybe Scottish, dresses. Well, they're actually for men, uh, but you can tell like this darker brown thing is made of leather, So you could have used like a texture brush for that or an actual like photo texture, but in this case, they just limit themselves to the drawing, the line drawing, and then rendering it with just these basic brushes. And I think that removes a lot of guesswork or ambiguity, which does make your illustrations, or even if these are like quick concepts, they look a lot cleaner. Oh shit! I would recommend another artist named Yukina or Yukina. Yuki. I'm not sure if I did an art review of Yoneyama Mai, but I did an art review of Marui and Yukina. Now this one doesn't even have color or rendering, right? But again, even with the inks alone, it looks so like it's done. Right? I do see some line. Okay, some line weight variety. Some lines are thinner, some lines are thicker, and it looks very like fluid and dynamic. Let me just go to some of their uh illustrations here. So even with the painted stuff, or even if it's like rendered, the line work is still dynamic, meaning in terms of like its size, like it's not fixed in like one size. And the tips are often like pointed, so you can tell this thing is very sensitive to pen pressure, which does give it that more natural kind of look. Okay, so let me go back here. Look at that. Very minimal too, right? I mean, there is some hatching maybe for the hair, but it's not like for shading. It's more of the texture of the actual hair. So when they do their line work, it's very fluid, very gestural. It's following like the form of the body. Like, look at how. Let me just show this thing here. Look at how this line. It's basically her back, but they still decided to draw it to sort of show you where it is. Maybe that's the initial line that they start off with, and instead of erasing it, they just sort of leave it in. So that's pretty cool. Uh, But you look at how some spots are a bit thick, and you contrast that with more thinner lines, right? It just makes it look less monotonous, and yeah, and you have this big graphic shape here, right? Like it's basically like a silhouette, and then you add like some white lines to indicate the hair, right? Pretty cool. Kawaii. Grayscale painting. Oh, look at this. Looks kind of like an Arabian sort of theme, just based on like the headdress thing, or maybe they're nuns. I don't know. The scarf, or it's not a scarf. It's like a headdress. And the mask. Or maybe it's because of the orange in the background. I'm assuming it's like a desert environment. I'm not sure, but interesting. For some lines, they colored it pink. Right? That's a stylistic choice. I don't think it's necessarily a part of or because of the background or of the environment. It's more of an accent kind of color to just make your artwork pop out a little more. And it kind of fits like her lipstick, so which is also like pink. Oh, lovely scar here. Reminds me of that beast wolf woman or beast one from Mushoku Tensei. But I think her scar was on her belly. But super cool. Right? And I like how the scar is lighter in tone or value. I'm not sure if it's because of the dark skin. Like if you have dark skin, if you have a scar, it's going to be lighter. I'm not sure if that's accurate, but it looks convincing. Or I'm convinced. Um, I love the rendering. It's so cool. I want to mention other artists, but I can't remember their name. But I believe I reviewed a couple who do character art who also limit themselves to like basic brushes, kind of like these. And it's still like super convincing and like perfect, basically. And I just love how they're able to capture like the reflections for like even stuff like this. Like even the folds, it's so like you see like a wide range of values. Everything's like black and leather-esque, right? Or gray or dark gray. But it's not just one value or three values where you have like the mid-tone and then the shadows and then the highlight. It's kind of um it kind of ebbs and flows, you know? It seems a little more like intuitive in a way. The mask looks pretty cool. It sort of extends out a bit beyond the cheeks. So cool. Kawaii. And again, when you're drawing like bodies, you want to be careful with adding too many lines because it can look cluttered. Like you want to save it for, especially if you have like a design that has, like if they're wearing something kind of like this where it has a lot of moving parts. If this already has a decent amount of line work, why would you add more lines to like the skin of the character? Even for this like scar, look at how thin those lines are for the edges of this like big scar. It's not very like out of there. It's way thinner than the lines, say for the mask for this top part, right? So you want to tone it down to sort of give your eye or the viewer's eye some areas to rest, right? I mean, look at the line work for this hand over here or for these fingers. It's very minimal. And I think more than half of it is like pinked out. or they change the color of it to pink. And that's another way to kind of tone down some black lines. You can make the colors match like the colors close to it, or you can just change the color to something that's more vibrant. Anything that's not black or dark. It just helps to tone down the intensity of that very sort of black dark color. Yeah. This one seems a lot more airbrushed. Lots of like soft edges. I'm not sure if we've explored this or zoomed in on this. I like the gun design. It's kind of like an old school kind of gun. I know there's a proper word for this kind of gun, but where you had to like add the gunpowder and everything. But yeah, look at the ink work. It's not tight, but it's right, right? You know what? I'm gonna mention maybe Greg Tocchini just because his line work does have this sort of fluid feel. Although he's like a Western comic artist, but Greg Tocchini, yeah, there's just something fluid about it. And the hands are always like a good place to see, aside from the face. Oh, even the ears look pretty cool. But the hands, they look so like aesthetically pleasing, right? Like if you can make the hands look interesting, I think it's a good sort of litmus test to see if you're good with or good in playing with shapes. You're just learning when to push a line, curve it, make it end sharply or abruptly, extending it even more. So cool. Oh, she's kind of like a bat based on this wing design. And I see like the fang here, so and the cross here, maybe she's some kind of vampire, maybe. A cow girl or a cow vampire? What? Like a gunslinger type of a bat girl. Oh, kawaii. Very demure. Very cute. Yeah, so let me go further. Let me just see, because there's more images. Oh, there's one more. Oh, it's a different view, but it reminds me of one of Yoneyama Mai's like shots or compositions, because she does it a lot, like these types of poses where they're kind of flying or floating in the air. You know what? Maybe Rolua is also a good artist to recommend. Rolua. Pretty cool. Interesting. This one's more of a sketch. I think she's hugging someone. Very cute. Very sad. Not sure who this guy is. Oh, by the way, I have no idea if these are like fan art or original characters, but they all look so freaking cool. And again, with the white border to sort of frame the character. Yeah, again, the ink work, not a lot of hatching. It's mostly in the contours. A decent amount of line weight variety. Very dynamic sort of lines. They sort of point to a sharp tip, right? And then they kind of thicken as you go in the middle parts or when you kind of end to a point. Maybe TB Choi? I don't think so. I mean, she does character art, but the line work, I think sometimes she'll resort to just like a basic round brush without any pen pressure. So you know what? We'll just. I think she has a couple of drawings out there where she'll DB Choi add some more dynamic ink lines. And the colors, let me just zoom out here and see the feed. Okay, it's mostly, I see a little more saturation, right? Meaning they're kind of bright, kind of poppy. I think we did open this here. It's kind of hot. Reminds me of that girl from Kim Possible. I mean, she's kind of a bad, I mean, she is technically a villain, but she's not like a bad person. I'm only saying that because she's hot, but anyway. I forgot her name. But I think she used to, or she works for Draken something. Draken, the blue guy. But yeah. Look at how the hands are simplified here. The fingers, very chunky. But it can it's sort of a combination between like straight lines and curved lines. I remember seeing that sort of advice somewhere. I'm not sure if it's from a video or from the comments, but uh, I think it's in one of my art reviews. They were commenting on an artist and they pointed out how that person's art was kind of cool looking because, like, you notice in the line work, it's not always because some artists are more like, you know, very straight, very graphic. Some artists are more like curvy, meaning kind of fluid. Oh, you can't really see it because the line of this program is like so jaggedy, but and then some kind of go back and forth between like a curved line or a straight line, curved line. Oh, straight line. It's hard to see again because the line is getting like jagged or segmented, but um, when you have that kind of back and forth contrast, I think it makes your lines a lot more interesting. And again, the best place, or what I think the best place to kind of see this immediately is in the hands, right? A straight line, sharp point, curved line, straight line. Pretty cool. And again, white background or white border rather, but they have like a pink sort of blurred out background to, you know, make the character pop out a little more. And that's more of a stylistic choice. And it makes the page look less empty. This one is an actual like they did a little more effort, I guess, by adding like a frame to make this maid stand. Oh, she's so cool, very hot, and you can tell the proportions are kind of uh Korean, like the way they do their faces. There's like a common, like if you average out Korean artists, they tend to have this kind of like sharp look. It's a small face, kind of sharp looking. Um, and I think when it comes to like Japanese artists, they tend to be a little more diverse. Or they have like a wider range, I guess, in terms of like the anime style. But for like, just check out the work of maybe Miss Jisu or Super Annie. They have a lot of like Korean people or artists there. You know what? I'll write Miss Jisu because I know she likes drawing with ink as well. Miss Jisu and fuck. Oh, sorry. Also, Kwang Kim. Let me just quickly go through their past work. Right now, if you look at the ink work of Kwang Kim, it's more they tend to use like a basic for the ink work, a basic round brush, not much pen pressure there. Uh, but it looks cool. It's almost like they're sketching with a tech pen or one of those like 0.4 gel pens or high tech pens. I'm thinking of the Pilot sort of brand because they have a pen, the gel pen, like the high tech one. It kind of reminds me of those kinds. Oh, again, even with this sort of scene, you have like a painted background, but the ink work is not like like you don't see a lot of like thick lines, basically. And I do see a lot more like shakiness with these lines. But it still works whether you do it in this way or with this more like gestural kind of ink lines where there's a bit of thickness here and there. It all works. But I'm guessing this would take a little more time because you have to be a little more intentional with the thickness and the thinness of your strokes. But for this sort of approach, you don't really have a choice, but you're just kind of stuck with the one sort of width thing. I mean, there is maybe some thickness here and there, but it's so unnoticeable from this kind of full picture view. Oh, one of my favorite art pieces from Kwang Kim. There's a bigger version or a full version of this, but yeah, look at how kind of scratchy those lines are. But it's still not cluttered. You know, I don't really see hatching lines again when they do the inks. Look at that, and again, basic brushes. Oh, Asuka from the Evangelion is super hot. Do we have like a full version? I think we do. There you go. Look at now we do see a lot more like camera effects. You know, the flares, the blurs, the RGB kind of stuff. This could be like a shot from an anime, right? And I guess maybe that's why they like to stick to basic brushes because it's supposed to be a part of a pipeline, right? Like you wouldn't want to, like it's fairly close to what would come out in the animated versions. Okay. I guess it makes a lot more sense now. I mean, it could also be like a stylistic choice, but um, people who work within the animation pipeline, they tend to limit they're a little more efficient with their brushstrokes, whether it's just the inks, or even when they render, it's a lot more simplified or efficient. Yeah, so that's it for this art review of choijihyeon. I'm not sure how to pronounce the last name, but Hyeon. I will link this page, by the way, in the description below, and I will also link the page of Kwang Kim, especially the post, the dark, the Devil May Cry post, where I found the name of Choi Ji Hyeon. So yeah, that's it. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.